Hey, welcome back to the IG. I'm Mike, and that is a 1973 Mercedes 450 SL. I found this old Merc nestled away in a fellow's barn in South Carolina, faithfully awaiting the day when someone would come along and save it. Interestingly, during my research, I found that this old car was once owned by a television Emmy Award winner. You just never know what you're going to find out there. Well, anyway, let's pick up where we left off with our restoration. Thanks for stopping by. All right, so I've done the passenger side already as far as setting our run out. The spec here is 0.01 to 0.02 millimeters, which is 0.3 to 0.7 thousandths. So about a half a thousandth is what you want. Anyway, so what we're going to do now is get the proper wrench, which is not located in my midst. So this little hex set screw, 6 millimeter, is loose, and what we're going to do now is run this down pretty snug, and you want to turn it while you're doing that. Yeah, that's pretty snug now. And then you back off about, quarter of a turn, third of a turn, something like that. Somewhere in that neighborhood. Then you get your dial indicator. Magnetic works best. You set this on your hub there, and you can set it on that flat surface on your set screw, castle nut, whatever you want to call it. Activate our magnet. There we go. Now, what you want to check for as you vigorously jiggle this back and forth is you want to make sure that this needle just kind of moves around, at some level that's less than 1/1000th on this gauge here. So, and that's a lot. That's like 2/1000. So that's not good at all. We'll set that over there, and we really don't need that wrench there. So let's just tighten that down with our fingers. Like that. And you wanted to use the wrench to really seat the bearings is what you want, So I just tighten that down with my fingers. And now, all right, no movement whatsoever that time. So now we're going to back this thing off a little bit, and like that. Not quite so aggressive this time. I'm moving it just a smidgen, but I don't. You have to keep in mind that my left hand isn't as strong as it used to be, so I'm not quite there yet on the strength. So let's turn this. All right, I'm getting close now. So I'm going to come in here and go tweak it just a little bit. I'm getting about a half a thousandths movement on my gauge. So let's tighten up our set screw. And let's recheck that. Looks pretty good. Let's spin her around. We're going to go with that. Well, this is what it took to loosen these tie rod ends on the R107. On this one, I had to break out the oxyacetylene torch and pretty much get this sleeve red hot all the way down to about there. So yeah, the blue wrench always wins. If it doesn't loosen it, it'll cut it in half. Anyway, let me get this out of here and get some tie rod ends in this thing. All right, let's do some steering next. This gizmo here goes on the passenger side. Got a red dot on it. How about that? And let's see, how did this go now? Let's see. I think that pointed downward. So, yeah, that'll work. And I retained this little doohickey out here. I think usually you'd probably want to replace these, but I think I'm just going to reuse it. I think it'll be fine. So on the floor probably is not the best place for it. I cleaned all this stuff up on a wire wheel. There we go. All right, we'll get everything together first before we start tightening things down. So let's move on. All right, we got the whatever that's called in place, loosely. Let's get our tie rod in, and I painted it red. It was red when I pulled it out of here, but yeah, it had kind of a funky red color to it, and I found some oxide red primer, and I just used that. Looks pretty good. So this is just temporary right now, just so we can move the car around. All right, I got the other little bracket cleaned up, so we're going to go ahead and get this one in place as well. That top ball joint on this driver's side is pretty dang tight. I'm not sure if that's going to cause us a problem in the long run or not. Well, I reckon we'll see. Ooh, one of these is longer than the other. All right, we're back over here at the bench. I got the steering gear. It's been sitting over there in the corner, along with the original steering gear from the Corvette and the Cadillac. There's two of them sitting over there. So yeah, this is the R107 steering gear. I know that because it has a Mercedes emblem on it, and it has a Mercedes part number. How about that? Anyway, so I got the wire wheel out and took the top level of rust off of it and hit it with some Duplicolor flat black outside on the mobile paint booth. So yeah, got to get this on the car next before I can move on and put the rest of the steering system together. So what I'm doing here is tapping the holes, one there, and one there. Those are 10 millimeter by 1.5 thread pitch, and she seems to function. When I move this, it pumps fluid out the hole there. So I'm going to go on the assumption that this thing works okay. It probably leaks, though. Who knows, right? But I'm not going to fiddle with rebuilding this right now. Right now, I'm going to put it back on the car just to move it around. Of course, now when we put the engine back in, we'll probably remove it because, as you recall in a previous video, I removed this to get the engine out because, well, it just made things a lot simpler. So, yeah. Went ahead and put the steering coupling back together, albeit, loosely. It's in there good enough to just, steer the car around the shop. That'll stay together, as we just push it around inside the shop a little bit. That'll be perfectly fine. And I was looking around trying to find some semi-solid rivets. In other words, rivets that had a hollow core towards the end, but were solid along here, and with a 10 millimeter shaft diameter and about 1.5 inches. I don't know about that, about yay long. Anyway, I was trying to find some of those online to rebuild this thing. I haven't even bothered looking for rubber. I had the idea I could probably just buy solid rubber and bore out the hole and make my own bushings, but that would be, it would probably cost me, time and money. I should just go buy one. So yeah. Yes, Peter, I'm going to go buy a steering coupling. Okay. So that's that. So here's this. This is the shaft out of the steering column. Take a look at this. This was up inside there. I am not sure what was going on there? What in the hell happened to that? I have no idea. So, yeah. I think the first thing I'm going to do now is try to repair this and make this side look like this side. So I'm going to get after this with a file. And then if it's too, if it's too marred up, I can always add a little weld in there and then file it back down. So I'm going to give it a shot and just see how it goes. I'm going to start by just taking these marks out of this part of the shaft here. Shoot for the easy bit first. It's like taking a test. Answer the easy questions first to, get your brain energized. When you're doing something on a curved surface with a file, it's counterintuitive. You naturally want to go like that, right? But the real way to do it is like that. It's smoothed out. Got some pits in there. We could fill that in with some weld probably. Man, that is just, I don't know what happened there. Just something dug in there. Maybe just over time, I guess. Get the end. There's a little outcrop on the end there. And that got mashed down. And it took some doing to get this thing out of the coupling. It was so mangled up. There we go. I want to keep it square against the surface. You don't want to round anything off. Alright, so we got that nastiness there. I'll fill that in with some weld and try to get that normalized. So basically going to use the good side as an example, right? So see, that is flat across there, and that's got a big gouge in it. Wow. Alright. Alright, I'm just trying to clean it up a little bit and get some of the bad spots out of it. Need to fill that in with some weld and then regrind this thing. That's what I need to do. So yeah. Alright, let me go break out the welder and fill that in a little bit. I'll be back here in a minute. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and get the grinder after that. Alright, let me change out for a flap disc. I'll be right back. So that's the unfettered side, the good side, and there's my filled in a few of those pits. This is just practice before we try to tackle that. So yeah. All right, let's try to fill that in some then. Yeah, I cranked up my juice a little bit there. All right, before we go hog wild, let's clean that up and flatten that out. little smaller file. I forgot I had this one. Let's go ahead and try to fill in that tip now. Turned the juice up on the welder a little bit. That seemed to work out pretty well. Let's see how much work we've got to do here to make it look like the good side. Not terrible. Let me get the file across there and see how well we do. Take a little deeper, I guess. This is as deep as it was. This would need to be built up, I think, a little bit on this side. Not that it really matters tremendously. It does look better than it did, though, doesn't it? That's a little crooked. I think I'm going to build this up a little bit. Yeah, that actually turned out pretty well. This seems to be more uniformly defined now, like that side. I think I'm going to take this down just a tad bit more here. That's looking better. I think I'm going to call it fixed. It's a decent repair. And hopefully it'll fit in the coupling. So yeah. Let's find out. How in the hell did that get so mangled up? You guys have an idea? Yeah, I'm probably going to have to take that down a notch. Get it to squeeze in there. Or I could just pound it in place. That might work too. I'm going to put the bolt on the good side, I guess. Whoops, got it in there a little too far. I mean, not that this matters a whole lot. We're going to replace this coupling anyway. That right there is good enough, right there. That's all we need to get the steering gear in the car. This is good enough. This is going to be replaced. I'm just putting everything into the car lightly right now, just so we can move it around, get it on the ground and move it around a little bit. That's all I want, because I want to move it forward so we can get underneath the dash and get the brake booster off. That's my goal. All right, let's go ahead and put this little rubber boot thing in first. Have you ever done this before? No, never done it. How hard could it be? So it's got a lip there, and there's a nice little flange of steel around that pipe, shaft, whatever you want to call it. I'm guessing that those two things play nice together, and you know, a little rubber seal goes around the flange on the metal pipe. I know you guys can't see jack, but you know, it's not rocket science. All right, that's what that looks like. Pretty nice, huh? How about that? Next, I think we'll put the shaft in there, and then we'll loosely adhere the steering gear to the car. All right, thanks to my lovely assistant, the better half. We got the steering gear lightly attached to the frame up here, and that's just temporary for the purposes of getting the steering reattached so we can get it on the ground, so we can roll it around, so I can get up in there, remove the brake booster, and start to work on the firewall. That is the goal here. So, and let's go ahead and reattach our steering here. That's all the way to the right. That's all the way to the left. So, that steering gear makes noise when there ain't any oil in it. So about right in there is the center. Alright, slight mistake. Well, not slight, I completely ass backwards mistake, I guess you might say. Tie rods connect to the end and come in from the top. Okay, after a bunch of idiotic nonsense, I was able to convince that to line up. So yeah, the tie rods go on the end and come in from the top. I'm doing this. You're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. You're supposed to put the drag link in first and then the tie rods. Clearly, I am a crappy mechanic. So let's go ahead and get our center link engaged. Now we're going to elongate our track rod. That's the wrong way. It's not like it had been off the car for 6 months. You'd think you'd just remember exactly how it's supposed to go in. Acorns, acorns, acorns. Anyway, so the guys came out yesterday from the roofing repair company. Did a bang-up job. I'm supposed to get some photos. He's going to send me the final invoice. I've already paid him, but he's going to send me the. I asked him for the pictures, so I'll send you. If I get them, I'll put them in the video. So there we go. Just like a monkey doing rude things to a football. That's what I am. A monkey doing rude things to a football. That is just ridiculous. All right, enough of that. All right, so I'm just gonna get these nuts past the little nylock thing. Because all this stuff will have to come off again. So at some point, it's gonna have to come off again for some reason. It will need to. So may or may not worry about getting the steering wheel back on right now. Just that's not really a concern. I just wanted to get it on the ground and be able to roll it forward and backwards and things like that. So yeah, mission accomplished on the temporary steering reinstallation. And so yeah, let's put the car on the ground, see how well she rolls. All right, we hadn't been on the ground several months, so wish me luck. None of the control arm bolts are tight, by the way, so that's what we're going to do after we get it on the ground. We're going to tighten the control arm bolts. You always tighten your control arm bolts after you put a vehicle on the ground. Imagine that. The front end of the car did not come down whatsoever. Not even the slightest. The back of the car looks really low. That's weird, man. Got to air up the back tire. They're like 1,000,000 years old, so they're old and dry rotted. You guys come over here and feast your eye on this. Take a look at the previous videos, right? If you recall what this engine bay looked like just a few short weeks ago. Now we've got subframe has been refurbished, all new bushings. Lower control arm mounts have been reinforced with the official Mercedes kit that they offered in the late 70s. Thank you, Peter, my friend in Kansas, for sending me a link to that kit that I purchased. Where did it come? It came in from Germany, actually. It's like a new old stock part. Yeah, I still got to put the body colored paint here over the rust encapsulator or rust preventative paint from Pour 15. But what my goal here now is to remove the booster over there, and I want to get this, I don't know if it's a plastic or vinyl or what kind of a cover that is, some sort of heavy dense foam, maybe it's rubber, I don't know. But I want to get that cover off of there and look at that firewall. I just want to make sure I don't have any rust in there that's really bad, you know. If I do, I'll have to repair it, clearly. But yeah, I want to get in there and really check that over really well. So let's see, what's next? I guess I'll air that back tire up and then push the car back and forth a little bit, bounce up and down on it a little bit, and get the suspension to... Oh, there's no shocks in it. I forgot about it. Well, that doesn't really matter. And see if I can get it to settle in just a little bit, and I'll torque. Actually, you know what? I take that back. There's probably no need to torque those lower control arm bolts just yet. If I'm just going to roll it around, I should probably wait until I get the engine in and then torque the lower control arm bolts. What do you guys think? Good plan? I think so. Because it's still way up in the air, right? And if you torque them now, that'd be just dumb. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. We'll wait until the engine is in and the weight is back in the car, and then we'll torque the bolts on the lower control arms, and the upper control arm rather. Anyway, enough of that. Let's move on. All right, so there's no brakes on the front, and the back brakes were not locked up prior to me starting all this, so this shouldn't be... There we go. Yep, easy peasy. Very easy indeed. Now I can get into the door. See how much room we have here. Still got the cabinet in the way, but I love how these doors don't have the frame around them, you know. They got a pillar in the back, but not around the top, so hard top-ish. Anyway, so yeah, we can get in there and do some stuff now. I can crawl up underneath there and work on the brakes and the booster and all that kind of jazz. But not today. All right, folks, I think I'm going to leave it right here for this short little video this week. My main goal was to get this car back on the ground, get the steering installed, get it back on the ground so I could roll it forward and get the brakes off of the car, and then get this cover off of the firewall to see what kind of nonsense we have lurking back in here. I don't think it's going to be bad, but we've got to check it out nonetheless. So yeah, and I've got to bench press this booster. All right, may work, may not, I don't know. And, well, I got to paint it because, well, look at it, right? Anyway, I appreciate you guys stopping by the channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you'd like to be notified whenever I release a new video, don't forget to click that little bell down below. You guys know where it is. All right, folks, you have a good one. And remember to enjoy driving and restoring your classic Mercedes.